Almost everything written about AI is useless if you're working inside an organization. Here's why. Almost everything that's been written about AI assumes that you are an entrepreneur, that you control the tools, that you can choose the platforms, that you can decide what goes where. And if that's you, that's great. There's heaps of content out there written for you. But if you're someone who is leading transformation inside an organization, so you're in a corporate, you're working for government, you're in a not-for-profit, you can't just go and sign up with any large language model or any new platform and just start pumping in your company data. And if you're inside an organization, if something goes wrong, if you inadvertently put in confidential data or breach some sort of a policy, there are real consequences to that. I mean, we all know there's a little bell and a flashing alarm and siren that starts to go off in IT when something is confidential leaked. And we want to avoid that. We want to avoid our boss getting an email saying, hey, what was this person doing? Why were they trying to download this thing? Why were they putting this information there? We want to just avoid that as much as we can.
Welcome to The CEO in You, the podcast for trailblazers leading real transformation. I'm Melissa Hartman, and around here, we don't just talk strategy, we build the mindset, influence, and momentum to lead change that actually sticks. If you're leading transformation in your organization or you want to, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
This conversation, this series that I'm sharing with you here is for people that are leading from inside organizations. And everything in these episodes is for people doing that, operating within those constraints. So we're not operating around them or despite them, we're operating inside them. And everything that we're talking about in this series works regardless of which AI tools your organization has given you, whether it's Copilot, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, etc., etc. The intent with this series is that the approaches are agnostic. You don't need to sit here and wait for IT approval. This is about working in a different way with what you've already got. Because if you are a transformation leader, I know for certain that you would love some extra time in your diary, because I do not know a transformation leader, and I have never known a transformation leader. In all of my coming up 20 years of working in this space, I have never found a transformation leader who does not have a full calendar. So the opportunity to give you some space and to optimize some of the things you're doing, make little tweaks so that you can get much more output from them, is what this conversation is all about. And there's a whole lot of good, juicy stuff to get into. So, in each episode in this series, I'm going to share with you one tool that you can use straight away. And the good thing about these tools and these frameworks is that they stack and they compound upon one another. So, once you pull in the conversation about voice, the pun, you bring in the voice conversation, you bring in some of the about me content, you bring in some of the codifying your work. We bring some of these together and all of a sudden we've got this amplified impact of compounded benefit. But before we get into any of that, I want to share something that will make everything else more useful. And that is where to point AI in the first place. Because this is not about how do I use AI more? Practically, unless AI is creating value for you, you're not going to do anything with it, right? It's just going to be another tool that sits on the side and doesn't get used. So the real question is, where does AI actually belong in my work? Where is it going to be helpful? And where am I not going to use AI? And rather than be hard and fast about this, what's most useful to share is the way that I think about this, about where AI belongs and doesn't belong. Now, of course, we're all operating in different contexts, and so you'll need to tweak and work out for yourself what spaces where you want to use AI and you don't, but frameworks for thinking about it will help you get to that point. So if we start here and work out, okay, AI is able to create capacity for us by making things simpler, repeatable, things like that. So where does AI belong in my work? The first place to start here is with repeatable tasks. So this is things that you do time and time again. So it might be something like writing a report, reading a report, assessing a report, comparing, contrasting reports. And those are all examples. Like I've said report a bunch of times there, but practically you could just insert any other artifact in there. So it could be writing emails, comparing emails, analyzing emails, whatever it is, right? Anything that you do repeatedly, time and time again, whether it's the same time once a month, once a week, daily, multiple times a day, but repeatable tasks, that's the kind of stuff we can get AI to be really helpful to free up some capacity for us. And this is particularly useful, and this is actually where I'd start, is for ones that are a time suck. So things that you're doing regularly or that suck out a lot of time out of your day and energy, a great place to point AI. Again, with all those caveats we talked about earlier about sensitivity. But if you're finding tasks that are repeatable, that are time consuming, and that they suck your soul like a vampire, energy vampires, that's a great place to start with what could we do with AI here. So that first one is all about those repeatable tasks. Right. Second, where places where AI belongs in your workday. Now this is where we really start to get the juice happening. We can start to codify our approach to things with AI to amplify our work. So this is where we start to look at the way that we do things and codify them so that we can then show up without us needing to be in the room. So we might be doing things like codifying the way that we write. We might be doing things like codifying our decision process or the way that we solve a problem. Whatever it is that we're doing often, we can look to work out how to codify it. And so this is where we get to really start to amplify the work that we're doing. There's a great book that I have taken a lot from. It's called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. He talks about you do the first 10%, your team, or you delegate the middle 80, and then you get back the last 10% for review and fine tuning and tweaking and putting the polish on it at the end. And this is how I think about this section here about codifying our approach so that we can put the 10% in at the beginning and then 80% of the work is not done by us. And then we just come in at the end and polish or fine tune as required. And that's what codifying our approach can give us the opportunity to do. We've been doing this in the academy that I run, the Transformation Leadership Academy, with our clients, and the opportunities here, once you start to unlock them and identify them, can, I get so excited thinking about it and not seeing it happen because it means that we can really stack and compound the impact of the work that we do. So this one, there is so much juice in this space of codifying your approach, the way that you do things. And that's another place where AI can be very powerful to support you as a leader. And then the third one I'll share, the third space where AI can belong in your workday is where AI can help you get better. And so this might be that you do something like get an AI to coach you, help it to give you feedback on either the work that you're doing or the way that you're approaching things. And you can either set the parameters for what you're working towards yourself, so it'll coach you against your own standards of what excellence looks like to you, or you can input and give it other coaches and ask, how would Brene Brown coach me on this? How would Adam Grant coach me on this? How would David Ogilvy coach me on this? How would my CEO coach me on this? All these kinds of different opportunities become available for us to use AI to help us get better. And so those are some other places where we can choose to have AI belong in our workday to support us in the work that we're doing to transform organizations from the inside out. Now, before we jump off here, there's a few points that are important to talk about of where to be really mindful of AI. There's two in particular that I want to talk to here. The first one is, it goes without saying, but it needs to be said. We're working inside organizations. We need to be really mindful of sensitive data, client data, trade secrets, all of that stuff. Be really aware of. And if you're in an organization, most of that will be baked into the should be baked into the fabric of supporting your organization to protect that. I know one organization I worked with you couldn't send anything externally out of their network because of the rules around sensitivity and trade secrets. And if your organization's not doing that, that's a separate conversation. But be really mindful, is the point here, of sensitive information and obviously any client information or customer information as well. The second one is one that is less discussed. And this is something I think it's really important to be mindful of AI. And that is where an over-reliance on it would cause your capabilities to atrophy in time. If you think about all of your capabilities as a leader, you haven't just woken up today and had them all be handed to you on a silver platter. If you're like most of the transformation leaders that I work with, you have got scars on your back and a long, long trail behind you of blood, sweat, and tears of the work that you've done, the lessons you've learned to bring you to where you are today. And so what's helpful is to think about, how do I keep myself sharp? And I talked before about how AI can help you keep yourself sharp, with whether it be the coaching or the feedback or creating capacity for you by taking away some of the repeatable, repetitive tasks and then freeing you up to do the juicy strategic work that you want to get stuck into. But we want to be mindful that we are keeping ourselves sharp. And our skills will evolve over time, as we do as people. And some things that were once really valuable won't be as valuable anymore in the future. And other skills and capabilities will be more valuable. So this is not saying you have to keep every tool sharp that you've ever had, but let's be intentional about not letting AI dumb us down and instead using it to lift us up and make us so much better. And sharpening the capabilities and the skills and the experiences that we have, so that we can get to go and work on important, challenging, interesting work with people we want to work alongside. It makes us able to create more value in the work we do, and also in elevating ourselves. It elevates the standards of the group around us and the people we attract to work with us. So that one is something I'm so mindful of, is how we're getting sharper and not letting our capabilities, our valuable capabilities, atrophy, as using AI to offload repetition and codify our approach and enhance our capability, not to replace the practice that helped us build that capability. So an example of that might be that if you are a transformation leader and you're using AI to prepare for every stakeholder conversation, you can become more influential. But if you use AI and then stop having stakeholder conversations, and you use the AI to have the conversations instead of doing it yourself, you become less influential. It's the same tool, but a completely different relationship to it. So here's a quick win from this episode. Have a look back over your last week in your diary. Notice in it which tasks are both repeatable and time consuming. So just scan across it and see where you were spending your time. What we're starting to look for here is, where could AI have helped me and I didn't use it? That's where we're going to start today. We'll get into all that other juice I talked about codifying, about helping us get it better. We will jump into all that. But for right now, start to notice which tasks are repeatable, time consuming, and where you could have used it, but you didn't. And the rest of this series is going to go deep in all of those categories. So we've got specific tools, prompts, and wins for you in there. But this framework is about, this is what makes it all coherent. I will see you in episode 2. If you found this episode helpful, I'm running a live masterclass that will show you how to buy back 10 hours of your time this week and put them back on the work that only you can do. It is called the New AI Fueled Leader. It will be capped at 30 people, and it's built specifically for senior transformation leaders working in organizations. If you want to grab a seat, you can head to tlamastermind.com/AI leader. And I'm going to drop that in the show notes for you. If you're curious about the Transformation Leadership Academy, we are currently full, but the waitlist is open. So if you want to be next in line to join the academy when we open the doors, you can find the link in the show notes as well. I'll see you in the next episode.
If this sparks something in you, share it with someone else in the arena and make sure you're subscribed to the CEO in You podcast. And if you're ready to lead with more clarity, confidence, and impact, check out the Transformation Leadership Academy. You don't have to lead this work alone.